podcast with a K.
Hi. Hello. How are you? I'm Christian Cawley. He's James McLean. And live from the United States of America, who we've recently pulled from the arms of Morpheus, is Barry White himself, Brian A Terranova. Good morning.
Oh, God. Good morning.
You all right? You well?
This is Barry White. Am I well? Sure. Am I well? James, are you well?
I'm good, thank you.
We're well.
Excellent.
Oh.
Okay, so it's the podcast with a K, so it's Doctor Who talk, and I think we're going to start with this trailer, which James has seen, but Brian and I haven't. Are we all linked up for this?
Yeah, I'm just trying to locate it again. What you want to sort of comment over?
Let's do a live commentary on this new trailer. Yeah, see if there's anything we like, anything we dislike.
Okay.
Have you got the link, Brian?
Email, was it?
No. Have you sent the link, James?
No, I thought you said you'd found it.
I have, but I'm using a tablet. I'm talking to you guys on my PC.
Oh, well, let me have a look, because the BBC website hasn't actually put it up yet.
I found it on the Radio Times website, of all places.
Oh, well, it's not a surprise. They do enjoy their clickbait-orama at the moment.
They do, don't they?
So...
Wait a minute, hold on a second. So this trailer went up 3 minutes ago?
Well, it went up on Facebook 3 minutes ago through the BBC group, so it's fairly new. I'm just trying to locate it on the BBC. Oh, for God's sake, your format on this interface is terrible.
This is great radio.
It is great radio. It's great radio because A, there's no DJ. B, there's no bad music. 3, there's no constant talk about Brexit. 4, there's no Trump talk. 5, there's me.
Wait a minute now. What about the news here 15 hours ago from The Sun that says, first openly gay Doctor Who star Pearl Mackie to quit the show with Peter Capaldi?
That's another thing we'll be talking about.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, be prepared for that. So we're sort of adding teasers. Well, I am badly navigating the Radio Times website.
And after that, of course, we'll be talking about Brexit and Trump.
Oh, absolutely. Why not? No one else is.
In the TARDIS.
In the TARDIS.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Well, you see, we'd need to divide the TARDIS up between those who like the old classic console room and those who want to move into new console rooms. I don't know. I'm just trying to do Brexit.
I don't know. Trump in the TARDIS.
Oh, there we go. Found it. Yeah.
Yay. Great. Yeah, so we're going to just do a quick live commentary on the new Doctor Who trailer, which is, as they say these days, has dropped as if it was somehow dangling in the bowels of some giant creature, digital creature. It's dropped.
Birthed. I think that is possibly more the allegory that they're looking for. But if you want to suggest quality-wise, maybe we'll see.
You may be right. I'm going to hold on to my analogy, though. Just today, it's Monday we're recording this podcast, so we're all going to watch it. James has already seen it, but Brian and I are going to see it for the first time. So, guys, we'll count down. 3, 2, 1.
This is the gateway to everything that ever was.
No problem.
Oh, well, mine's going nicely, thanks. There's a lot of stuff in this which has been in previous trailers, so...
This is naughty.
Is
that a cardinal? Like that. I do like the Cybermen.
With me to the TARDIS.
Have I missed? No.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Do you think? Wouldn't it be nice if he was regenerating for an entire episode at Christmas? No one's done that. Oh, hold on. Yeah, there's nice stuff in there. Stuff we've seen before. Some nice scenes. Nice dialogue. I am impressed with some of the CGI backdrop work that we've seen so far. Some of the establishing shots of places.
Yeah.
Like the castle there and the pyramid and stuff like that. Any thoughts, Brian?
didn't seem any different to me than the other trailers, aside from a little bit at the end, to be honest.
I mean, that could just be a tease for something that's nothing to do with what happens at Christmas.
I suspect it is.
we see through your tricks, BBC Wales. We've been doing this for too long, and so have you.
And yes, exactly. They've been doing it for so long too. It would be interesting. I mean, where are we now? We're in March. So will they have filmed the Christmas one yet? They would be filming, wouldn't they? So
we're in April now.
Yeah, I think they're just
yeah.
getting on with it, aren't they? I think that was part of the Capaldi announcement, was something to do with the fact that they were just going to carry on and get on with it, and then he can go.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether that would be part of the Christmas one, or whether that would have been in post-production yet. You know, whether that is actually from an earlier episode, the final shot. But yes, okay. So, yeah, no, it was... I mean, trailers are fairly easy to look good, because if you've got spectacle, which is what Doctor Who's meant to be, and action...
Absolutely,
How about you?
yeah. I mean, if there isn't an awful lot you can do with a trailer or say about a trailer. If it was like a long clip for an episode, there'd probably be a little bit more to it. But I mean, yeah, there's nice stuff in there that we've seen. There's good visuals, and we can't draw anything more of it than that, other than the TZ regeneration, which will probably be. We'll wait and see. So we'll move on. There's one
thing that did interest me.
Oh, go on then.
Just thinking about it, and this will be interesting to see how this plays out. But looking at the use of the Cybermen, there's a lot of unification in their movements, which I don't recall of being part of the original Cybermen. Now, it seems to be very, not saying it's essentially a new series sort of thing, but they have that shot of them sort of looking up all at the same time as well.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see whether they're actually directed as sort of older Cybermen, where there's a little more sort of independence to the characters, especially in 69, or whether they will be like new Cybermen in old Cybermen clothing.
Interesting. Yes, this is a good point. It is a good point, and they had names as well, didn't they, in the 10th Planet?
Yeah.
Not as opposed to titles. So, they weren't like Cyber Leader and Cyber Control and stuff like that. They had names. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that. What do you think of orchestrated Cybermen, Brian? Do you like that or not?
I do honestly like the fact that they all move in unison, and are the same, because that was kind of the whole deal with them. You will be like us, And I understand the first episode was different, as we've just noted here, that they didn't always move the same and they had names and so on. But I like that aspect because it's what makes them creepy to me, that there is no identity, that you just become exactly like them, and that's what they think is normal or the best way to be. I'll be very interested to see the 10th Planet Cybermen again. I won't mind their moving in unison, because going back to the 10th Planet, I don't think that we saw them necessarily walk in unison the way we did in the new series, but I do think that they had them all move with the same kind of movement, because I remember when they would go to strike somebody and just to karate chop them or whatever, that their arms, they always had that slow motion to them. I don't think anybody was just kind of like, yeah, I'm just playing a Cyberman today, I'm going to be myself in a suit. They were all kind of very slow moving. And that was another creepy thing about them, was the fact that and many science fiction things do this, is that slow moving thing can somehow still catch up with you and beat you. So yeah, I wouldn't mind having a bit more of the uniformity to them.
Okay. Fair point. It's a good point, and it does. You're saying that I'm not going to dress up in a Cyberman suit and be myself today. Are you talking about David Banks or?
No, well, that's terrible. In fairness, though, yeah, I guess it is kind of true. It's not like the 80s Cybermen where they all kind of felt like they had personalities and emotions and just kind of walked the way the actors walked, because they didn't really. The 80s Cybermen, I never really, aside from Earthshock, when they were coming out of their storage units, they did sort of seem like they were all kind of walking in unison there, which may be one of the first times we've seen Cybermen walk in unison, maybe the Invasion before that. but other than that, when you got them individually, they all had individual voices and individual movements, and that was something that always bugged me. Like, Cybermen shouldn't have individual voices. They sounded best in like stories like Tomb of the Cybermen, where they all just had the same voice, and that's what, again, was just really creepy about them to me.
Yeah, I was like the hands on the hip Cyberman approach, to be honest with you.
Oh gosh, oh god. But now they're super emotional.
Or did I? Yes. Okay, so Cybermen, Doctor Who trailer. We're going to move on because there's other stuff going on. We've heard a lot from Pearl Mackie over the weekend, but there's news today that she's probably not going to be back next year for Doctor Who.
News is a sort of subjective term, isn't it?
It is a bit. We kind of suspected this for a long time, didn't we? New broom, no companion. It's happened before. This is all down to a report in The Sun. Apparently the decision is not yet final, but incoming showrunner Chris Chibnall, or as I call him, Chris Chibnall, is keen to... I was going to say the Chibster, but I changed my mind. Is keen to begin his tenure with a fresh slate. So, it depends how the story pans out, really, doesn't it? Do you think we'll be left waiting for more Pearl Mackie at the end of the series? I don't know.
I don't know. I've heard people say quite legitimately that they like there to be a companion as a crossover, so it doesn't feel like with season 5, series 5, where you get this sort of very stark transition. And again, in again, not the series or season 7, if we're going to call it, for Pertwee, wasn't it? But I don't mind. I think it's logical that they do this.
Yeah.
I mean, their mandate is, which we suspect it is, and what we've heard whispers that it is to sort of really try and sweep clean and start again to sort of give a fresh new feel to a show and reinvigorate its younger audience. I think probably doing a fresh, clean sweep is sensible, and you do still have the police box, which is always the constant tie. And the fact the Doctor is always the Doctor, even if it's a different phase.
I think the thing that is generally sad for me is that everything changes. Like, the police box gets a new coat of paint or changes shape slightly. The console room gets changed, either a complete overhaul or they overhaul the last overhaul. There's no companion, no new sonic screwdriver, or rather, there's always a new sonic screwdriver. The old one just gets destroyed. And the reason I don't like that is because this guy, he's just an alien, and he's a guy. He's just a guy, Morzo. He's just a guy. Yes, he changes his shape, changes his form, becomes a new Doctor. But in the past, we've always seen that, he's either used the same sonic screwdriver, maybe painted it slightly differently, whatever, because the props team, but whatever, used the same console room, which then slightly started to change during the course of somebody's era, not like within the first episode. I don't like the fact that both like Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, like, once you got into their Doctors, their whole lives have changed completely. Thankfully, Capaldi used the same sonic screwdriver as Matt Smith for a season at least. But I don't know. I like there to be more of a connection, something more that shows that this person is the same person. Because to me, I get changing your clothes. Your entire body has changed. But why are you going to change your console room and your sonic screwdriver? None of that stuff makes sense. And the explanation in Matt Smith's first episode that, the TARDIS changed to match the Doctor is just kind of like, why? Like, we've never seen that before. It's just as bad as the explanation of, well, the War Doctor wears a leather jacket. This way it's a carryover to understand why Christopher Eccleston wears a leather jacket. Well, why? Why couldn't Christopher Eccleston just wear a leather jacket? Why couldn't he just be a Doctor who liked that? Why do we need somebody to have introduced it to the Doctor first? Because one of them's going to do it. Why does it need to be somebody before the original guy who actually did it? That said, I don't mind that she's leaving and that they're doing a clean slate, because that does seem to be how the new series works. It seems to be whenever there's a new showrunner coming in, you nicely package, and I've said this before, but you nicely package the previous showrunner's era within a containment of its own, so that basically it can be enjoyed as a thing of its own. Because the new series, while it is a continuation of the classic show, and while Moff's era is a continuation of Russell's era and the classic show, they don't have to be. You can easily pick up any one of their eras and just watch them for what they are. And that's okay. But I do think it's sad that everything changes all the time. But I am not shocked by Pearl leaving with Capaldi. We all expected it, as we said, and I don't necessarily need her to be the link. I would just like to see... I think it would be more fun in Chibnall's era if everything didn't change within the first episode. If they slowly changed things over the course of that first series, I would be more okay with that. Like the Doctor just making changes for himself, or somehow, some way, got a new sonic screwdriver in like the sixth episode, changed the TARDIS by like the eighth episode or something like that. Something like that. This way there's just more of a shedding of connections as you go on, but they're there. I would like that more.
Though, to challenge you on that, to be fair, I mean, I agree with you totally with the, so far, with the showrunner changeovers, that there has been a cut-off with Moffat. You say there was this big cut-off and the TARDIS had to change as well. Mm-hmm. But to be fair, with the Capaldi one, there wasn't a massive change. You say the screwdriver stayed the same. The console room largely stayed the same. Obviously some slight redressings, but it was largely the same room. And the same with the exterior, was largely the same, slightly different painted coat, but actually, no, it wasn't. It was the same as in Time of the Doctor. Time of the Doctor.
Yeah. No, well, but the difference there is that it's not a head showrunner changeover.
No, but we've only had one head changeover. We should have had more, but we've only had one. At
the same time, though, like for whatever reason, like Capaldi couldn't get a brand new console room because for some reason they decided that Matt Smith needed a completely new console room. Like, look what happened. Moffat changed everything. Had to shed the sonic screwdriver, had to shed the TARDIS color and the console room for Series 5, and then he started with a new companion. But then Amy left and Rory left, and then we got Clara. So Matt Smith had to have a new coat, a new sonic screwdriver, a new console room. Well, the sonic screwdriver changed marginally, but whatever, it was still there. A new console room, and then everything was fresh. And even like the explanation that Moffat gave was just because he couldn't look at that tweed jacket because it had memories of Amy. It was like, what? Why? Who cares? But then when Capaldi came in, they changed the console room. They added the bookshelves. They painted it all up, and that's fine. They redressed it. They changed the color of the console room. I'm okay with that. That's no different really than the past. I agree with you on that. And he did keep the sonic screwdriver, and I was happy about those things, because that's how it should be. Like, I kind of felt like when Matt Smith became the Doctor, we should have seen him in the regular console room for a little while. Yeah. I understand they blew it up, but he should have been in the Eccleston Tennant console room for a little while, and then maybe done a 5 Doctors type episode where he's like, hey, I've changed things up. Do you like it? And have Amy and Rory be like, what the frick did you do in here? But I'm just saying, I get the changes. I get that they want to put their own stamp on things. They have to even kind of reinvigorate things on screen for audiences to not get bored looking at the same thing, although we did do it with the classic series for quite a while. But at the same time, as James and I know as prop guys, those sets changed quite a bit too.
Yeah.
But they were always similarly themed was the main thing. But I think just as long as they kind of show, hey, this is still the same show. We're changing quite a bit. We're changing the storytelling. We're changing the way we tell the stories behind scene, how we write them. We're changing the actors and everything. But don't worry. These other things are still going to be familiar to you. And it should be more than the TARDIS, the Daleks, per season.
We don't know whether they will change the console room, to be fair to them. We've not had any indication that there's going to be. And with their... Allegedly, I think their budget might be dropping again. So
we haven't had any indication about a lot of things other than the fact we're getting a new Doctor, in fairness.
And possibly a new companion now. But we sort of kind of predicted that if they're going through this policy of trying to forget and renew, not necessarily narrative, but certainly to sort of try and give a fresh new start, fresh new blood, and I suppose to give the new showrunner a clean slate with no blood on his hands, per se, from the previous eras. I can sort of kind of understand it. And I still find it fairly funny, though. And I think we said this before, how he starts, that is the clean slate, that is the reboot. But it feels like Steven can't have that. This season has to be the reboot, which is why the first season's episode's the pilot. You know, that he sort of said you can watch this show as if this is like Rose, the beginning, and you can go on from here. As if he doesn't like the idea of the next series being the sort of wash off of the old. His has got to be the wash off of the old.
Wait. Has he said this about Series 10, that you can watch it as the beginning?
Yeah, he says first episode is like, it's called pilot for two reasons. I think it's a sort of double meaning, but one certain meaning is that you can watch this fresh, like Rose. This is a brand new feel to the show. The thing's going to be different this year, and you could start Doctor Who from here, rather than letting that be the sort of rhetoric for the next series, which is the obvious one where it would be there because it would be brand new. He's got to sort of have it for his final season, as if he's got to make sure. I could be wrong, and it could be BBC policy. It could be them sort of say push new. I don't know, but it has that feeling as an audience, as if it's his personality that's got to be the new series, not the next.
I'll tell you what, I would love it if it was a new fresh start and somehow it was a solid good season. And you know I've said that before. So if somehow he found some magic to make Series 10 work, I would take it, because I really want a good season for Capaldi. But at the same time, going back to Chibnall just real quick, if he does, I think, honestly, as much as I want to see links left behind to say, hey, this is the same show, I honestly feel Chibnall would be very wise to shed as many links to the Moff era as he possibly could to bring the show forward.
No, has Brian gone?
I don't know. I heard a beep that almost sounded like he might have gone. I'm sure our professionality has dropped since we left Kasterborous Towers. I'm sure we had a far more high-tech production system there where...
No, it was exactly the same.
It was exactly the same. Yeah. You sure? I'm sure long-term listeners will question that. They'll be dubious. So, they were pretty ramshackle at Kasterborous Towers, but now, yeah.
Well, we just hold it together with a tin can and a bit of elastic band, don't we?
We do. We do. It's very sort of Doctor Who that way, isn't it?
Indeed. Well, look, let's go back to Pearl Mackie. She says that... no, she doesn't. That's the next story. The BBC have said various things on this match, and I've lost them. But it was along the lines of... here we go. BBC spokesman says, we never... Going back to whether or not Pearl Mackie is leaving Doctor Who or not at the end of the season, which we suspect she was going to anyway. We never reveal the fate of individual characters on the show. Viewers will have to tune in to find out. We are still filming Series 10 and no casting decisions have yet been made on Series 11, as we know. So there you go. Okay, so Brian.
Yeah.
The other thing that's happened over the last few days is that it's been announced that Doctor Who actor Pearl Mackie confirms new character is first openly gay companion. Let's skirt around the Captain Jack side of things. The thing that's causing a lot of consternation about this isn't the fact that she's gay. It's the fact that... it's this quote: it shouldn't be a big deal in the 21st century. It's about time, isn't it? When basically an entire weekend of Doctor Who promotion has been taken up by the fact that the companion is gay, thereby making it a big deal. How's this hit you over your side of the Atlantic?
Me personally, or how I've seen people reacting?
Yeah, the reaction, yeah.
Okay, I've seen like 5 people react and go, cool, I'm happy. And then otherwise I've heard nothing. I don't care. She's gay. That's cool. Yeah. I don't really, I'll put it to you this way. When watching a TV show, I don't need to know the sexual orientation of anyone that's in the show. I just need to know if they're a good person, a cool person, and if I'm going to enjoy watching them in the show, help save the day with the Doctor, so... I don't really care. Be gay, be straight, be bi, be any kind of orientation that you want. Just be a fun person. Be a cool character that I can enjoy when I watch the show. So yeah, I don't really care. I don't see why there's such a heavy emphasis on all that stuff. I don't see why everything needs to be laid out so black and white for us, rather than be a draw your own conclusion kind of thing for the audience anymore. You know what I mean? Like, everything, we are told everything now rather than allowed to think what we want, you know? I think when you think about it, Doctor Who, for years before the new series ever came about, had a massive gay following. I don't know why. You know, obviously I'm not gay, so I don't know what is attractive about the show to someone who is, but I somehow always used to think that it was that they didn't give the Doctor a sexuality. And I think that is probably a bit more important, because the Doctor then can be anything to anyone.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and once you spell it out so completely, yeah, sure, you're going to draw in certain people who maybe have the same orientation, but if you didn't put a focus on love stories or sexual orientation, then anybody can enjoy that same person and just assume that they're like them too, you know? And I don't know. So I see arguments for both sides quite easily, that it's nice to represent a community that isn't usually represented. And on another hand, it would be nice to be quite indiscreet about it. This way, you're still representing anyone who wishes to represent themselves with that character. That's basically my only thoughts. You know?
So, James, on this issue of not being a big deal and being a big deal at the same time.
Yeah.
There's a bit of talk about this, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, there was one person mentioned. I won't mention his name, but in case he doesn't want to be mentioned. But there's one person who's sort of written for Doctor Who in various forms before, who's sort of suggested that there had been talk, and I've not got the data to back this up, but there had been talk that there might have been some sort of rather an attempt to sort of do a sort of nasty piece about this, which the BBC tried to head off at the pass by making an announcement before that could happen. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, which would make sense. I think the two issues I have with it is, one, to sort of suddenly suggest that she is the first openly gay companion, I think is a stretch, because while the point of Jack was that he was meant to be omnisexual, there was no doubt that his explicit point of him was meant to sort of emphasize the fact that he had what would be considered gay tendencies, that he was a gay character as much as he was a straight character. So I think some people kind of feel like, I don't know, are you whitewashing a bit of that just for the sake of promoting a PR promotion? And thus, as you say, are you making an issue out of this, which perhaps you shouldn't really be making or really have the grounds to make? I still wonder whether Chameleon pretty much was the first gay character. I have no evidence of that, but I could just imagine him being a gay robot. He seems sort of that way. Him and 3PO, I don't know. But yeah, I don't think there's really. I think the only thing that concerns me about this is that it doesn't matter if she is the first gay character; it's how she's represented in the show which will matter. Yeah. And the problem I've had in the last few years is that whenever gay characters are referenced in the show, it's primarily female gay characters, which is something that male men find titillating, and their approach to actually referencing their gayness is usually in a way that male men find titillating. That was the other thing I was going to mention. Is it going to be, that's what she is, let's get on with it, or is it going to be a bit of carry-on fun? Exactly. Is it going to be whenever there's a hot girl in the show that she's going to have to make some reference to that, or make some sort of smarty sort of sexual River Song-esque comment? Exactly. Is that how it's going to play out? I mean, the way that he played out Jenna Coleman when she first appeared in Asylum with the Daleks was a bit of that as well. Yeah. And, you know, is this, and then again it's with Amy Pond fancying herself, which I know people could say, well, there's broader issues of her character in there, but I never got the impression Amy Pond was particularly in self-love of herself. It felt it was played more for the joke of that, and then for Rory to be sexually titillated by the fact that there's two Amy Ponds. You know, if this is a sort of sexuality that's going to connect to the gay character, I don't think it does her any good, because she's not being played really as a gay character. She's being played as a male writing a gay character, playing on the sexuality that is all that gay people are. It's all about their sexuality. Yeah.
And we've seen for a long time that Moffat isn't the best when it comes to writing about sexual things, unless, of course, he's writing a sitcom, in which case it can be pretty funny. But in Doctor Who, he doesn't usually do it justice. or in drama, he doesn't usually do it justice. But they also did say that Bill, her second line in the show was going to be about her being gay. And to me, it was just kind of like, I don't know. I don't. There's that classic joke that if you're a vegan, everybody knows about it because you talk about it every 2 minutes, kind of thing, And it's like, I just don't really see that with gay people or lesbians or whatever, anything. I just think that.
Well, vegans actually, but there we go. Carry on.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is, it's like, I think much in the same way that I was saying how I would like to see Series 11 kind of slowly shed vestiges of Series 10 in the Moff era and the Russell era. It would have just been nicer if Bill came in the show, was just a person, being a person, and then, slowly, like when it became relevant to reveal, like maybe there was someone that she fancied in a particular episode, that's when you go, oh, hey, she's gay.
That's unfortunately far too subtle for the Moffat era of Doctor Who, I feel.
Of course.
But it should be this. That subtlety should be for all orientations, really, and it never is anymore. I mean, how many times did Barbara Wright mention that she'd had a boyfriend? None. How many times did Ian Chesterton talk about girls he'd gone out with? None. I mean, there might have been some illusions of tension between them, or people argue about romantic interest in the Aztec with Hartnell's character Doctor, but ultimately speaking, they shouldn't be pillars of character buildings, and unfortunately, television at the moment they are. And that needs to be stopped. And Doctor Who should be, in theory, the forefront of challenging these sort of stereotypes and tropes, I think, anyway. And yeah, I agree with you. It should be, if you wanted to mention it, it could even simply be a photograph in her room, which suggests that she was going out with a girl at some point. Why does it have to be? Because what gets me is that I can go through entire nights of being with friends and, sexuality doesn't really come up at all. Yeah, you don't talk about boyfriends or girlfriends. Yeah. Especially if you're past 18. If you're a little older than 18, maybe if you're 18 or 16 to 18, maybe you will. But beyond that, it becomes just part of life. And certainly when I speak to a girl, generally 9 times out of 10, you could take our dialogue, write it down, and you would find it hard pushed to tell which is the guy and which is the girl, because we don't talk about that. You just don't. So why is it in every dialogue between guys and girls or people who could potentially have sex, shall we say, that has to come up within television? Why is that always the driving force? And it's because it's a titillation factor a lot of the time, and they need to back off that.
Yeah, and it's very tiring. I mean, it started with Rose, of course, but and I guess we didn't quite so much get it with Martha a little bit. No, not really. But it started with Rose, and then basically you had Rose, Amy, Clara, River, and Jack, who basically were just pretty much either attracted to everyone that they saw or couldn't stop making sexual references whenever they had a chance. And it was just like, can we get away from that?
Gang.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I have no idea what Bill is going to be like. I'm just thinking, like, can we get away from that aspect? Can Bill just be a person in her own right, and somebody who isn't as obsessed with sex as Moffat is? Like, let's just have the characters focused on enjoying other things in life, because guess what? There are other things in life to enjoy.
Like Doctor Who.
Well,
yes.
I think it gives a good role model for kids as well. Is that life isn't just about sexuality. It isn't about sex. You can have a show where, and you go back to, as you were saying, Brian, why was the Doctor, a gay icon? I think you're right. I don't think it's because. I think in part it's because he was so asexual that he wasn't a bastion of heterosexuality. But I think it was also the fact that for a lot of gay people at school who felt unusual and odd and different to other people, he was a person who amplified that as a good trait, that you could be unique and odd and actually lead and be respected. And I think that probably also factored in, as well as, I think you're totally right, I think the fact he wasn't a heterosexual role model meant that he didn't feel claimed by another group. So I think those two factors are the reasons why he was so important to gay communities. And like we say, I think it'll just depend on how they do. They were saying in one thread I read, someone had seen early screening or had seen bits of it, said that she was handled quite well. But we will see whether that is true and whether that carries on throughout the season. I'll be very surprised if they can
I'm real
avoid
hopeful
that she won't find the Ice Warrior woman, queen, attractive. You know, things like that. Isn't that quirky? You know,
yeah. Well, let us remain hopeful. We've got 2 weeks until the new series of Doctor Who starts. We'll be back quite soon, I think, with a different discussion on a completely different topic, nothing to do with Series 10 of Doctor Who. But until then, it's goodbye.
This is a BeyondKasterborous podcast, available on iTunes, Audio Boom, Stitcher.com, Player FM, and BeyondKasterborous.com.